wanted to share with you this morning. First of all, good morning, everyone. I'm starting nice and early today with my Facebook Q&A live. So I received an email yesterday from someone, and thank you for sending that. I have actually just replied to that person, asking me a question of they've got one of their children is participating in a semi-elite level sport. I think semi-elite is the level where they're at. What they were looking for was what's the best journal to give someone who is an athlete, which is a great question. So I was writing my reply and thought, oh, hang on, I could use this for the Q&A today. So a couple of things that I think you need to think about when you are going with a journal. So the first thing that I would say is you could go with one of these, which is a blank notebook. This is just the notebook I give out in my workshops, but any blank notebook will do. So you don't actually need anything too fancy to start journaling, but what you probably do, and the value obviously of buying a journal, is it will give you prompts to get you closer to your goals. So the first thing that I would say is if you're trying to decide on what's going to be the best journal for you as an athlete, the first question I would ask you is, what is its purpose? So there's a range of reasons why you might want to keep a journal. So you might be setting yourself goals and wanting to track your progress with those. There might be physical elements of your training and your rehab, and just generally looking after yourself and preparing for competition that might be useful for you. So, for example, some people like to track their hydration. Some people like to track their meals and their planning. Some people like to measure different elements of their foods and so forth. Journals can be really good before training sessions or after training sessions to reflect on how things have gone, to write yourself notes and plans if you're going into competition, again, to reflect on those. You might use them for notes around visualization for athletes who like to use visualization strategies. The other thing that I think can be useful with journals, if the athlete wants to, is actually using it as a communication tool with their coaches to put down ideas. Maybe, they might not be seeing their coach for a couple of days. And, it's a good way to track how they're going in a particular moment in time. I've had athletes use their journals to monitor and measure their mood along the way. So there's a whole range of reasons why keeping a journal might be useful. I can remember a football player I worked with, and it was many years ago now, he's long since retired, but when we first started working together, he actually brought along all of his journals he'd been keeping journals since he was about 14, and it was a really good resource for him. Now, some people are a bit like me and old-fashioned and like to have something to write in, but know that there's also e-journals that you can use as well if that's more your preference. So again, it's just going to go down to preferential style. In terms of, the kinds of things to look for, so you might want journals that have got options for training logs in them. You might want, as I said, goal setting, tracking your progress, those sorts of things. Your mental conditioning. So there's a whole range of things that you could potentially do. So the first thing I would do is, if I was getting a journal, I think, what's its purpose going to be for me? What do I want to track? What do I want to keep an eye on? Or do I even want it as an educational piece for me? And then where I would start, not necessarily where I would purchase, but where I would start is I would start with somewhere like Amazon. And I would type in journals for athletes or something similar like that. That's what I did just yesterday when someone sent this email to me. I thought, I wonder what Amazon will tell me, because that will give you a whole range of options, not necessarily, and you might want to search according to those that have got the best reviews, or those that are most recently out, or, but it'll give you a starting point. And the reason that I'd suggest looking at somewhere like Amazon is that most of the books have a look inside feature. I know that all of my books, I think the look inside is pretty much gets you close to the end of the first chapter of all of my books. So if ever you want to kind of dip your toe in the water and go, is this the read for me? And I often do that, even if I'm buying some fiction or something like that, I might read the first chapter through the look inside or download the sample, and then I'll make the decision as to whether or not I'm going to purchase the book. The other thing that you can do is, if you're in something like Kindle Unlimited, some journals are actually in Kindle Unlimited. Now, Kindle Unlimited is where you have a subscription, and it means that all the books that you access are essentially, well, they're not free, but you don't pay anything for those books because you're paying a monthly subscription for Kindle Unlimited. What you need to know is that when you're an author, you make a decision as to whether you go into Kindle Unlimited or you don't. And just as a backstory, so you know, the obligation for an author who goes into Kindle Unlimited is that they cannot sell their books through any other platform. So for me, all of my books are available, on my website and all the usual book platforms. So my books aren't in Kindle Unlimited. I think I've got the ebook of In the Grandstands is in Kindle Unlimited. So I just sell it through that platform, but everything else of mine isn't. So what you just need to know about Kindle Unlimited is it won't give you all access to all books. But the other thing that I would suggest you look at as well is if you found one and you're not sure and you just want to sort of test it out a little bit, sometimes have a look at the pricing of the ebook. So again, I'm showing my preference here. I prefer a journal that you can write in. That's my journal, the game plan, and I like it because and I have paperback and hardback. I had plenty of discussions with people as to whether or not people would buy a hardback. I don't know what it is for journals. I always want hardcover, but I always want paperback for everything else. So I like having something that you can write in, but other people might like the ebook preference. Now, what I would say is check the ebooks, because if you a hardcover book is, they're more expensive than a paperback. So before you spend $30 or whatever it is on a hardback, maybe have a look at the ebook. So that's what I've done with mine on Amazon. Is it's the only place you can get the game plan as an ebook. And what I find is people go in and buy that for, I think it's $2 or something. At least then you can have a look at it. You could print it off. I guess that would be if that would work for you. Again, I like the hardcover book that I can carry around with me, but at least then you would know if that's going to be something that you're going to like. So I would probably go down that pathway as well. Of course, you can also ask other athletes what they are using, but no, obviously they'll be using them for particular reasons. So if someone says to you, look, I'm using this journal, I'd be asking questions as to what they like about it, what they don't like about it, what they get out of it, those sorts of things. So hopefully that gives you some ideas. So thank you to the person who emailed me about purchasing a journal and what to look for. And if I had any recommendations, I mean, I'm always going to recommend my own book. But I think probably the reason why I didn't say, look, I think you need to get this one is they all do such different things. So you can track things in different ways and measure things in different ways. So you really have got to have a little bit of a think as to what's going to work best for you, and then make your purchase accordingly. But what I would say is the process of journaling, and I've got some, I might link them in underneath this chat, some interviews that I've done about journaling and why it's useful to journal. And certainly I know a lot of athletes that I work with find that process of writing down, reflecting and thinking is helpful for them in terms of sorting out their own thoughts. A lot of them say it helps them to sleep at night, but it's also a good way of tracking progress, particularly over time, and you can look back and see where you've come from. So journaling, I'm a big fan of it, and then it's just about finding the resource that's going to suit you best. Just as an aside, for those of you who are tracking Belief, my next book, which is coming out next month as I'm recording this Q&A live. So very pleased to say it's gone for printing. So hopefully that won't take too long. And just a reminder for those who are thinking about getting one of the pre-release copies, just remember that will get you into my webinar that I've got coming up at the end of this month. I think it's actually 2 weeks today. And so if you're interested in a copy of Belief and you register for that now, you can get a copy of my webinar in a couple of weeks. It's coming up, so looking forward to sharing that with people. I know there's quite a few people who are asking me about what I'm going to be covering in that. So talking about some of those key foundations that sit around belief and expanding on some of the information that I talk about in the book and some other things for you to think about as well when it comes to building belief for your performance. So yeah, excited that it's gone to print. It's good. I don't have to do anything. So it's in other people's hands at the moment. So it's nice having that time knowing it's off doing its thing. So hope you have a great week. If you are watching this in the Facebook Live and you want to see any of the other Q&As that I have done, have a look in my YouTube channel. They are all stored there. If you're watching this in the YouTube channel and you'd like to jump into the conversations in my group Winning Strategies, then please jump across into Facebook and search and you will find it there. All right. Hope everyone has a good rest of the week and I look forward to speaking to you soon.